Hi, I'm Gary Bowerman of the Southeast Asia Travel Show, and I'm guest hosting this edition of the Inspiring Women in Travel Asia, or the IWTA video series. My guest today is Xuan Xu, Managing Director of Bangkok-based Xuan Xu Co Ltd. Xuan is a creative, experienced designer and has a wonderfully diverse and globalized life story and career resume with plenty of exciting experiences to share with us over the next 30 minutes or so. So firstly, hi, Xuan, how are you doing? And where are you
Hi,
right now?
Gary.
Because you're not in Bangkok, are you?
Oh. Hi, Gary. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. I'm right now in Milan, and this is my exciting journey and travel.
Oh, wonderful. So Milan, Italy, beautiful city, fashion design, art, architecture. What decided you to go there?
It was pretty much a guts decision. I came here on a short travel for the design weeks. And then I think I sense that something is here I want to explore, so I return. And among many reasons, also because I want to realize one of my dreams. When I was little going to school, I always dreamed to study fashion design, but due to circumstances, I didn't do it. So when I returned to Bangkok after I spent here 4 days, I couldn't let go of that feeling. I want to go back to Milan, and I searched. And here, Marangoni, that's Instituto Marangoni, that's one of the top design schools for fashion. So I returned. So I don't only want to be a traveler or tourist. So I came back to do also a little bit fashion design studying.
Fashion design studying. Fantastic. I'm very envious. I love Milan. I think it's a great city. Fabulous food.
It is very, very nice. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great city. Okay, so let's dig into your life history a little bit and your career. You have a fascinating early life. You were born in China, raised in Germany. Your mother was a Beijing opera performer, and your father was a
Yeah.
Chinese wushu master who played
Yes,
martial arts movies in the 1980s. Come on, tell us
in the
what.
80s.
So, did your parents' talents and careers inspire your own personal aspirations?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think until now, the older I get, I come to the realization that our parents deeply inspire us, deeply influence us. And when you know that I first started in my professional career, it was exactly the opposite. It was in finance, it was business. But over the last 10 years, I gradually becoming an artist. I gradually also embrace what my parents gave me. So there in my work as in my private life, I am absolutely a performer. That's how I grew up. I mean, both my parents, we had students of them coming to our home where my mother either teach acting, performing acting, or my father would teach wushu martial arts. And a lot of the culture of the history of China, of also the beauty of opera and wushu has influenced a lot of how I see things.
Well, that's a fabulous way to start. Thank you for that answer. So let's again step back. You studied, you worked, and you've lived in various countries around the world. What does travel mean to you? And has the pandemic changed the way you think about travel?
Absolutely. So I would say travel was back then when I was younger different than what is right now. The meaning is very, very different. I would say in the younger years, travel is something you do because other people do. It's kind of a leisure. It's kind of going to sightseeing. Yeah, just to have a change from what you know, learn something new. But it's very generic. And the older I get, I realize travel has so much more meaning, also so much more benefit than just leisure. So, for example, this time travel, I absolutely see it as a self-development. I absolutely see also traveling inside my heart and inside my identity. So let's skip the past, what I think in the past, but what I think about now about travel, especially after the pandemic. I think travel is maybe one of the most self-developing activities we do because we have experience when we stay at one place, our ideas stuck, our emotions stuck. We feel captivated. we actually are not able to move forward with our ideas or even with our actions, especially with our actions, not with ideas, but with our actions. And travel is something that releases us from our captivation. Travel, we get into a new environment, and suddenly all the deep desires will surge again. So travel is, you can say travel is therapy, travel is a university. So in many, many aspects, I think if I would tell anyone something that I highly recommend now is please take time and go travel. Nothing else is really so important than travel, because travel, you are with yourself.
100%.
There's no surrounding influences telling you what to do.
Yeah, I totally
You're
agree
so
with you there.
fresh.
Did it take you time to feel comfortable traveling after the pandemic, or did you want to straight away get out and travel again?
No, I pretty much get out straight away. I think so the pandemic, I was even traveling before the pandemic. So I left Bangkok last year around September. There were still very few flights. I first flew back to Germany, and that was such a relief. That was so refreshing. New environment, also see other friends, new culture. Everything was just like I felt alive again. Pretty much, I felt alive again. And one of the first travel as well is I was in Italy. I was in Venice, which is just a couple hours drive away from Milan. And it was such an unforgettable experience because at that time, I think never again I would feel Venice so empty.
Mm-hmm.
And I had once in a lifetime, the city just almost for myself. It was a little bit colder. It was not summer, but I just felt the city and the culture and the art so intensely. It was a very, very deep experience. I would never forget.
Yeah, great timing, because looking at the pictures from Venice right now, it's busy again, right? Everybody's traveling.
It's very, very, very busy. It's very busy, and you have to share with many people. And what I feel different is when you travel, when the place is just purely the place, you have a much deeper impression of the place. Whereas when there are many travelers, it definitely changes the vibe.
Yeah, sure. So you referenced there Germany, and that plays an important part in your life. You actually studied in Germany. You studied for a bachelor's and a master's degree at Pforzheim University in marketing, creative communication, and brand management. What did studying in Europe mean to you at such a young age? Was that what you wanted to do?
I have to say, I went to Germany with my parents when I was 6. So most of my life, I grew up in Germany. And also in terms of my identity, at least my logical mindset, I associate myself very much being a German. Of course, meanwhile, 9 years after I was living in Asia, I'm a hybrid between East and West. But my early years that really coined me is the German mindset. So how I would compare, actually, I don't know it differently until I lived in Bangkok. What's the benefit of going to school, really from elementary school to university is, first of all, I appreciate that I grew up with 2 languages, because every language is not only what you speak, but it kind of program how you think, like logical thinking. So I grew up with a Chinese, Sino-Chinese language system, and with Romanic, Germanic language. I also studied Latin. So these different languages gives you a different mindset. How do you perceive the world? What is the other benefit? I think 2 big or 3 big benefits is, first of all, the education system in Germany and Europe, it really facilitate of critical thinking. Critical thinking is important, that you question things so you will be able to be creative, because you're questioning and you're not only following. I think that's the big difference in Asia. People need to follow, need to obey certain authority. And I think if you only follow, it prevents innovation. So critical thinking is give you the tools, the abilities to consider for yourself what you want to choose to use, and what you might think differently. That's number one. Number two is gave the space also to access to the different European culture. For example, I learned different languages, have access to French culture, have access to a little bit of Italy. And so the Europe is very small compared to Asia. So you have more access to all the different neighboring country, different neighboring culture. And the third thing is, I would say, that link to critical thinking is that it gives you room for creativity in the education. Maybe there are countries that are even more enhanced creativity, but definitely it's a ground where people say, okay, what's your own thinking? Maybe that's also the culture that European or Western culture is more individualistic. Let's say, what's your thought about this? How you want to change this or how you want to develop this. So, and you also are embraced to ask questions. Yeah, the teacher, I remember one teacher is, okay, this is a fact of history. What's your thought about it? What do you disagree? So in Germany, we have this culture. We say, okay, what is it about? I'm against it. I mean, that's the other extreme. But in a positive way, is people really want you to give your idea, your feedback, your response on it. So these are the three big things that I appreciated. The German education in general, but of course also living there. German are very systematic, are very ordered, very structured.
So you've referenced a couple of things that I think are quite interesting. You've referenced lifetime journey, you've referenced cultural and creation, but you actually began your career in business, which you've also referenced. Why did you start your career? You worked for Merck, I think.
So Merck, there was an internship. I was very fortunate. I had a professor at my university. I think he recognized my passion and probably also my ambition. And he says, look, we have a collaboration company in Bangkok. That's a big city. That's Asia. That's where your roots are. Do you want to go there for an internship? And for me, I have lived in Germany. I was on vacation in China, in my birth town, but I never lived in any bigger city. And of course, I couldn't say no. That was a big, big, big journey for me. And once I lived there for 6 months for internship at Merck, I know I definitely need to return. A little bit similar to what I'm right now here, why I'm in Milan.
What was it that inspired you about Bangkok? What was it that really grasped your interest?
Again, I think like I'm a very guts person. It was first a feeling. Like often when I do decision is by intuition. And my intuition never failed me until so far. But after I did that decision based on my intuition, I will know why. So Bangkok, first of all, it's a mega city in Asia. It's a very, very well developed. It's very dynamic. It's very diverse. It is also very creative. And I would say it's also a place that allows you to be yourself or become yourself. The culture of Thai culture is very embracing, welcoming, and very tolerant as well. I mean, with Buddhism, and also many facts in Thailand allows many people to be who they are. And I think that was a time that in Germany is where you will be shaped in a certain way, in the structure. And I needed to find myself. So when I went there, I felt there is room for me to grow, to become who I might be, right? Who I don't know who I was back then. And that's one of the reasons. And also Bangkok has a lot of resources and it is a destination of travel. I mean, that's one of the cities in Asia where has the most travelers. And I guess I was just drawn there.
Sure. So you then, I think you went back to Berlin, you worked in business again, but you returned to Bangkok where you became an art director for a theater. That sounds fascinating. Tell us more about that.
That's a long story, keep it short. So I went to Bangkok the first time as a university exchange program. that internship. And then since then, I wanted to return, but I didn't know how. I finished my bachelor degree, and then I had another master. In the master, I was fortunate again to work for a business consulting company that had the headquarters at that time in Berlin, but I wasn't based in Berlin. And that was, however, in auto finance consulting services. And yeah, you do consulting, right? And that sent me back to Bangkok. I think maybe I already knew, maybe that was again intuition. And so I was working as a business consultant, as a project manager in Bangkok for a Japanese company. I mean, for a German company, but the project was a Japanese car brand company. And then there I start to develop, or let's say I unfold myself. I started to meet people in the art industry. It was very, I would say, it was very magical how really randomly meet people. One was Ashley Sutton. At that time, he was based in Bangkok. He's one of the most celebrated interior designer for bars. And I think meeting him has entirely changed my life, because I went into a bar he designed, and that has provoked so much ideas and emotions that I had for a very long time. I was like, who is this person who designed places that's out of a dream? And that encounter changed in me of, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to be a consultant? Do I want to change the location every 6 months? Is really the financial aspect that incentivize me to do a job? Or do I want to follow and realize my dream? And so fast forward, I had a tremendous up and down, and I did a life decision for me. Is like, at the end of my day, when I'm going to die, I want to look back in my life. I want to see what I have achieved. And that would be not a career, climbing up a career ladder. That would be rather following what's deep inside me. And at that time was to work with Ashley, or to work for Ashley, to hit an entire different career path. And I resigned. And of course, the job didn't follow. Another job didn't follow. It was a big, big decision, because it triggered so many fears, so many uncertainties. And I mean, in between becoming a creative director, it was not I applied and I got a continuous job after I finished. It was a couple of months completely uncertain. It was up into the air. I did Airbnbs. I hosted Airbnbs. I did experience tours, kind of a little bit give travelers what I have already seen in Bangkok. And then one day, Ashley came back to me. So, hey, girl, do you want a job? He's a very hands-on person. And even then, it was not clear what my job was. So I said, okay, I'm willing to work no matter what I'm doing. I can learn anything in a very short of time. Just let me do it. Just let me do what I want to do, or let me do what you want to do at that time more. And that's how it transformed into, I would say pretty much at the beginning, I was a girl for everything. So I did Soar's tattoo books for prints he wanted to do on the wall. And then I started doing costumes. And then I had ideas. But with my branding background of storytelling, I quickly developed into that position of, I call artistic creative director, art director, but pretty much many times also taking care of the performers, because the place I work was Sing Sing Theater that has performers. I have this funny name. They call me the Mama San, because it was mainly the female performers. So a lot is also managing people, putting on shows. Later on, it developed into scene productions, where I say, okay, we have an idea, we have a story, and then how we made that into an experience. I would say that's the early beginning of how I think about the creative experience.
So that sounds to me as though that's what set you on the journey for creating your own company. I think you started your own company in like 2017. Tell us a bit about that.
Correct.
Why did you do it at that point? What was your intentions with your own company?
I was very, very happy working at Sing Sing Theater, which is a nightclub. It was very diverse. But then the old king, King Rama IX of Thailand, passed away. So suddenly all the nightlife has to stop. I mean, Thailand was for entire year of mourning, which is understandable. But suddenly I didn't have a stage anymore. I mean, the company was great, financial payment was there, but I couldn't create. I couldn't really pushing myself forward. I couldn't really create experiences. And that was the point I would say, it's time to make a move. I think I was never afraid to change the directions I want to go. So like, well, I could stay and wait, but I didn't want to wait. So I moved again. And after that, I didn't immediately found the company. First of all, I was working with Accor Hotel from Muse Hotels, a boutique hotel. And during my sensing time, I got to know a GM, a very passionate, also very artsy GM, Nicholas. He says, oh, let's do a dinner show. And that was the first time I produced a own production by myself. And I realized as an individual artist, as a single person, sometimes if you want to do bigger scale things, you need a juristic body. So at that point, I was considering to found a company, especially after that project. Is that if another project would follow, I will found my own business entity just to be able to do things I wouldn't be able to do as a single person. But it was never a company that was in focus. And during the similar time, I wanted to also push forward with Ashley. I had another two dreams. One dream was I always wanted to do a project in China because I am Chinese. I want to connect with my Chinese roots. Bangkok is very close to China. That's number one. Number two is actually he is a very, very unconventional, unique, inspiring artist, but on the same time, he's not a business person. And I wanted to work with him to do something bigger that is bigger than in Bangkok. Let's say bigger in, there's no, I mean, we're talking about Xuan 20, I was then 29, yeah, 29. 30. And that time I wanted to bring him outside of Bangkok. I want to bring him to China. And then there's this opportunity of Sino-Ocean contacting him or contacting us, because I was saying, look, Ashley, let me take over the business part that you don't like to do. I also don't like to do it, but at least I have background and I can do it pretty well. And out of this, there's this opportunity to work with Sino-Ocean, and it requested to have a company. It requested all this legal framework. And that was the moment is I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to take also this tremendous effort to set up a company as a foreigner in Bangkok. Mm-hmm. That was definitely the push that gave me.
And so the project that you did work on, the first project that you worked in China, tell us a bit about that.
That project, wow, I'm still digesting on it because it's a 2 years project. It was a lot of learning. So Sino-Ocean is a developing real estate developer in China. So they develop whole areas with office buildings, residential area, shopping malls, and hotels. So hotel is only one of these tiny 3% of what they do. And I still remember the call we received, like, we're a Sino-Ocean. We want you to build our boss on top of our Kempinski hotel. Or it was one of these luxury hotel. I think at that time, I was not sure who was going to operate it. So they were the owners of that space. I was overly excited, especially also because the project owner was a very, very inspiring woman, Vivian. She was a big role model. How she just approached, how we talked. I think you have to imagine at that time I was only an employee, and I set up my little company that served as a shell, and on the other end is this big company that developed real estate, hotels, and office buildings. So I didn't know where I was, but she made me feel so confident that say, okay, we're going to do this project, even though we have never worked in China, which I already knew there will be a lot of cultural differences. So to the project, we developed what I call an experience bar, which has a story, which has a theme. They're very focused to let people to immerse in that environment. On top of a luxury Kempinski hotel in the newer area. And it is, till today, the biggest Ashley Sutton design bar. It was 725 square meters. And we designed from, first of all, that's how I approach things from interior design. We had lighting design, the overall brand story, the meaning of the place, then costumes, uniforms. Inside the team, we had a food consultant, we had a beverage consultant, from everything that is in that space, from coaster till, even the what you call like tableware, napkins, everything that people going to, like everything that people come in touch is designed, or we have a team to consult to conduct this project, including the branding, including the logo, including the video, the music. So that's a scale of 2 full-year scale project, non-stop only. Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna speed through the pandemic, so we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
And now you're in Milan.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What are you doing there? What are your plans? And what does the future hold for you there?
I think Milan, as I said, I come first for a personal reason, but now it connects me with travel again. I feel there is something distinctive. I learned the differences between Bangkok and Milan. Both are very touristic countries. But for example, Milan's F&B is by far not as creative and innovative as in Bangkok. I want to realize myself in an artistic way, but also in an entrepreneurial way. I want to bridge what I have learned in Bangkok and what I'm learning in Milan. And definitely, I'm not only based in Milan. Currently, I'm considering a certain time in Bangkok and a certain time in Milan. And here, I want to see what I can learn about travelers coming here. For example, I stay here now for 2 months. I have moved to a couple of places, and even though the accommodations are very, very demanding, for example, the biggest difference, to find a place in Milan is very, very hard. And there's a lot of not a lot of hotels, but a lot of Airbnbs. And I see, again, as the article I wrote back in March, is traveling as a female person, the need is very different. And every time when I at a new place, I always have the urge to tell the host, you see, you should consider to put a full body mirror. You should consider where the traveler can put their makeup. You need more hangers. Where's the lighting source? So I feel I really want to not stir up, but also give my experience, what I have learned in Bangkok, to put it here into the hospitality here. And definitely, I'm looking again for a new stay. When I have settled here a little bit longer, I want to look into the hospitality here. I want to look into not only hospitality, but the most and foremost is experience, which means story. When people travel, what they want is they want to experience something unique. They want to experience something that is different what they have 9 to 5 back in their homes. They want something unforgettable, something what feels different to them. And Milan makes me feel different to any other places I have been. And I want to continue this path. I imagine to have my own space, a small space, or I consult and collaborate with space providers, accommodation providers, that not only to have a comfortable stay, but inside the space that you can interact with the object that gives you an experience. For example, you come into a space that is very well designed, but sometimes you see objects, whether it's an artwork, but even, for example, when you provide as a host, if you provide something special, whether it's a wine or a welcome small present and mostly food, you can tell something about this place. And that is let's say, in terms of a business side, I see how F&B experience and hospitality can merge more, not only for hotels, but also more from a semi-private sector. And to try out innovative also business models that haven't been tried before. That what if someone come into a accommodation, there are certain, let's say, a olive oil or a wine, and you provide the guest opportunity. If you want more, we can provide you, so you don't have to go and look after this. I cannot hear you right now, Gary.
I totally agree with you. This is the perfect time for innovative and fresh thinking. We have to rethink everything about travel and tourism.
Yeah,
and what
absolutely.
What a wonderful place to be doing it, Milan. Xuan, we wish you the very, very best of luck with everything, and we hope to see you back in Asia sometime soon.
I will be definitely, before the winter starts in Europe, I will be back in Asia, because definitely the inspiration we got here is something also I'm going to put in my circle or on my own back in Asia.
Brilliant. Xuan, thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for all.
Thank you, Gary.
Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.